You're listening to Health Professional Radio. My name is Wayne Buckler. Today my guest is Jefferson Harcourt, Director of Grey Innovation, who joins us from Melbourne, Australia. Jefferson, good morning to you.
Good morning, Wayne.
Now, Jefferson, I'm a little confused about your firm. So tell us, first of all, what are your products and services and what footprint do you service geographically?
Certainly. Okay, so Grey began life as an engineering consultancy, and we're a group of engineers based in Melbourne who were developing products for the automotive and consumer industries. So our clients included Robert Bosch, Hewlett-Packard, and other types of multinationals. We, in recent times, have moved that model away to one where we in-license technology from universities, hospitals, CSIRO, and other research institutions. We then raise the capital to commercialise that technology and bring our engineering team in to do that work in productising that research. So our clients these days are really our spin-out companies, and we can point to a list of startup companies we've worked with over the years in the consulting days as well, who we've built the technology for.
It does sound like an exciting model. As you're probably aware, most of our audience are health professionals, usually working in hospitals. What are some examples of projects that you've done that would resonate with them?
Well, one of the most exciting ones right now is Firefly Health, which is a non-invasive system for measuring nighttime hypoglycemia in type 1 diabetics. And nighttime hypos are a major problem for especially type 1 diabetics, and they kill 7% of type 1 children, so it's a huge issue. That technology came out of the Royal Adelaide Hospital, and this is a classic example where the researchers in the hospital are they're at the coal face, so they can see the needs.
Yes.
This particular endocrinologist did about 10 years of research around a way to measure these nighttime hypos non-invasively, and we were able to then acquire the rights to commercialise that. That happened about 2 years ago. We raised a little bit of grant money. We developed a device as a proof of concept system and ran a series of clinical trials, and were able to demonstrate efficacy. And following that, we spun out Firefly Health, we've done 2 series of capital raises since then, developed the device. We're now in clinical trials in 3 hospitals around Australia, looking to be in market early 2016. And it's just a groundbreaking technology that was initiated by a clever researcher working with patients in a hospital, a practicing clinical researcher.
What a great story, and how great to see research being given some funding and some legs to actually get it into the field.
Yes, absolutely, and of course not just the research getting funding, but crucially the ability to commercialise that research. So engineering and research very much go hand in hand, and there is a lot of talk about research lacking funding, and that's a fairly sensible discussion. But we do spend $9.5 billion in this country funding research. We spend $100 million, so about 1% of that, funding the commercialisation of that research. And so that ratio clearly is a bit crazy.
And I guess we see the results of that in so much of the research going offshore to be commercialised.
That's right, or it sits on the shelf and really doesn't go anywhere. So there's a long journey between research that comes out of the universities and the hospital labs. It has to go a long way before a company can pick that up, or a big company can pick that up and do something with it. So we sit in that middle band as a translator, getting research and combining that research with other elements of IP. Remember, there's 240 patents in an iPhone, so one bit of IP is never enough. So we put all of this IP together, including a lot of our own platform technology. We raise the capital to translate this IP into a real product that we can put through clinical trials and into production, get that into revenue, and prove that people want the technology and the technology works. And then we can attract the interest of big business to sell that on and get it out to the world where it can really help people. Because there's no point researching something if you don't commercialise it. It won't save any lives if it's not a commercial outcome at the end.
That's very true. Are you only in the health industry, or are you in other sectors as well?
Healthcare and medical devices are our major focus. We do have some activity in defence and when I say defence, I'm talking about explosive detection. So all good things. We don't want to do anything that hurts anyone. And we have also an interest in some environmental technology.
Right. It does sound like a suite of corporate interests that would absolutely sit well in most boardrooms as far as the ethical establishment goes.
Yes, that's what I'm cool.
If you were talking to clinicians now about your products and services, what is it you'd like them to know?
I think the most important point is that the successes we've had have been based on discussions that happen at the early stage. So really over a coffee, talking through what people are doing, and from that point we can look at where there are opportunities to combine what we're doing and also perhaps some of the other groups who we're working with all coming together to achieve an outcome. Things are getting very sophisticated these days in terms of the technology and what people are used to. So you tend to need quite a few groups involved to really make something happen which is globally competitive as a business and as a product. So the old model of researchers working in the lab and then passing that IP up to the university tech transfer office, that has a lot of issues associated with it. We're really trying to get in very much at the start of that research while it's still an idea, even the research being an idea, and that way we can help plan together that research agenda. We can look at what grants we can apply for together, and the ARC and NHMRC are targeting researchers who collaborate with industry, and we certainly like doing that. So it means that we're running the research and the commercialisation agenda in parallel. That means the research team is there.
You're listening to Health Professional Radio with Wayne Buckler. I'm talking this morning with Jefferson Hardcourt, Director of Grey Innovation. Jefferson's just been talking to me about the necessity for researchers to engage commercialisation partners very early in the process. Jefferson, is that something that researchers need to actively do? Should they be seeking you out, or do you have other processes for identifying potential research?
Certainly seeking partners out from both sides is a good idea. There's not really a particularly good formal way to do that. So we're looking to find interesting researchers, and we certainly like it when people find us when they've got some interesting things going on. And you never know where these conversations lead. We just spun out a company called Tali Health, which, again, we're very proud of. It's an amazing technology. It came out of the School of Psychology at Monash University, and it's a system whereby we can position kids on the autism spectrum. We can actually put the children through a series of activities over a tablet. They interact with the game. We take that data, put it through a very big algorithm, and we can generate a report that places them on that spectrum: high-functioning, low-functioning, autism, and so on. That's an incredibly useful tool, and we've just spun that company out. And the whole thing started over a glass of wine in the staff cafe with the head of School of Psychology. So, you just never know.
I do think starting things over a glass of wine is an excellent way to do business myself.
We're very flexible. Coffee, wine, you can't be picky.
So, Jefferson, how long does this process take? If you take, for instance, that autism tool that you're talking about, what length of time is it from the glass of wine until the commercialised product?
Well, if you time it in sync with the grant program, with this particular one, we spoke just before the linkage grant round closed, so we were able to put an application in, and within 6 months, 8 months, we had our funding to begin working together. From the point where the initial discussion happened to the business being created was only about 18 months.
That's surprisingly quick.
It is, and the great outcome with this particular model of doing the research and the commercialisation in parallel is that it's a 3-year linkage program. So we've already spun out the commercial entity, and we've got half our linkage program still left. Our research team is still active and engaged, and we're able to give them back questions that we need answered from a commercial perspective. It's a much better model than achieving some funding years after the research is finished, and the researchers, of course, have moved on to do other things, and it's like trying to get the band back together.
It does sound like that. Jefferson, if there's one misconception amongst, patients, clinicians, clients, customers, funding bodies that drives you nuts and keeps you awake at night, what would that be?
I think that that industry is somehow out to rip people off or take things away from anyone, when really we're very much in the same boat. We're driven by the same passion that drives the researchers to do what they do. I'm an engineer. I like technology. I want to see the technology help people and healthy businesses which can employ people. So I think our interests are very aligned. So I do shake my head a bit when I sense some sense of impropriety around what we're trying to do.
Let's hope that some of our listeners can take that message on board today. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I've been in conversation with Jefferson Harcourt, the Director of Grey Innovation. The website for that firm is www.greyinnovation.com. And if you're in the research business, as Jefferson was saying earlier, by all means make contact. At the very least, you'll get a glass of wine out of it. Now, we'll have a transcript of this recording up on our website very shortly, along with the sound archive. That's at www.hpr.fm. This is Wayne Buckler for Health Professional Radio.